Hi guys, this is Jean from Happy Indulgence, and today I'm going to be reacting to your assumptions about me that I posted on my social media, including Instagram and Twitter. If you don't follow me yet on YouTube or on social media, you can check out the links down below in the description. As you can tell, this isn't my usual setup. Basically, my baby's asleep at the moment right next to me, so I want to make sure that I'm close to her, and I don't have time to be setting up my YouTube and everything because we're about to head out to my nephew's birthday party. So I'm going to be reading out the assumptions, first on Instagram and then on Twitter. I don't know if I will bother posting who posted these assumptions, mainly because I don't know if you guys want me to publicize that. So let's just get started. There's some good stories in here. So first one is you only read sci-fi and fantasy. That is actually not true, as surprising as it is. Sci-fi and fantasy is definitely my preference, but sometimes I do like a good thriller or a good contemporary to break things up a little. Next one is you're the only one in your family that reads. Well, the reason why I'm such a big reader is because my sister read to me when I was a kid, and ever since then she took me to the library and everything. I have been reading for my whole life, and I'm really grateful for that. And if you talk about my immediate family, there's another question here which I'll go through later that says my husband isn't a reader. He actually is a reader. If you guys are surprised at all, he loves to read those Warhammer books. Definitely not for me, but anyway, I'm glad that he can read and does read every now and then as well, because it makes for a good living room date. Next one is having rainbow shelves is easy for you. I have to have my series in order. Yes, I've had them for so long. As you can see, these shelves aren't rainbow because this is my TBR. It's hidden in my study because I don't stare at it every day, and a lot of these have black covers as well. If you want to know how I can find books, I basically find them by the color of their spine. I mean, some people can find it by author, by genre, by series, but it's easy enough for me because I've had it for so long now. I know what my books look like. Next one is I assume you play video games, and yes, that's right. I was a huge gamer throughout high school, throughout uni. I don't game as much anymore, only because the games that I prefer to play take up a lot of time. Before I had a baby and before blogging, I did game a lot. I was actually a games reviewer, which was pretty cool, and I was a competitive StarCraft gamer. I still love StarCraft, and me and the husband used to play a lot of StarCraft games together, which was a lot of fun. Next one is you're a great mum. I try and do my best every day for my little baby, and I love her to bits, and I know she loves me too. You give so much of yourself to your baby. It's the only person in your whole entire life that you will put before you. Next one is super sweet. It's you are unfailingly kind and generous. Well, I don't know. That's a really great compliment. Thank you so much. I don't know how to react to that. I'll just take it. Thank you. Next one is you are one of the super clever kids in school. Well, yeah, I was a huge nerd in school. I was very studious. I studied almost every night. I sound really boring. I was the top of my class for 3 subjects as well, which I was really proud of, but it turns out that didn't make me very popular. So anyway, that's that. This one's actually from my sister, and it comes with a bit of a story. So it's Jean doesn't do DDR no more, lol. Oh my gosh. There was this one time I used to be really into this arcade game called Dance Dance Revolution. You know, like Just Dance, how you do moves, but it's basically just the steps. And there was a full arcade machine. I won a DDR competition at the arcade one time. My sister walked past and she's like, oh my god, who's that girl? Turns out it was me. It was her own sister. I miss being that fit to be able to do DDR, and anyway, it's not even in the arcade anymore. I think I'm showing my age now. Next one is really random, and it's you prefer chicken thighs over chicken breasts, brown meat over white. That's a really interesting question, but yeah, I guess I do prefer the softer, more tender meat, but I still like chicken breast meat as well. Any sort of chicken, I'll take it. Next one is you don't like plaiting your hair. Yes, I don't like plaiting it, mainly because I'm super lazy, so I don't plait my hair a lot. You can tell how lazy I am. Next one is you are 98% done with reading Sarah J Maas books. but still kind of want to read a future one. Like, if you watch this channel and if you subscribe to my channel, you know how much I rant about Sarah J Maas books, particularly A Court of Mist and Fury. Oh my gosh. I've invested in 2 of her series. The Throne of Glass series, I have the Kingdom of Ash rant. It kind of disappointed me a lot, only because I was so invested in it. Of course, the A Court of Mist and Fury series, I didn't like at all, but if she was to release another book, which I know she is going to, that has nothing to do with both of these series, yes, fine, I'll probably read it, even though I have expectations in my head to completely lower them. Next one is, you have stocked up on kids' books. That's right, Amelia has been getting stories read to her every night. She has a whole heap of spot books, a whole heap of picture books. It's been wonderful to just relive my childhood and make sure that she gets a lot of books as well, and hope that she's a reader too. I really hope so. You don't like Vegemite. Well, I actually do like Vegemite, but I prefer Marmite better, especially for breakfast. You fold your toilet paper. I mean, is there anyone out there that does not fold their toilet paper? Apparently some people scrunch it, but isn't that a surefire way to get the toilet paper in your hands and like a complete mess? Like, I don't really want to think about it. Okay, next one is, you prefer earlier Disney movies as compared to the recent ones, and that's probably correct, mainly because I haven't seen a lot of the recent Disney movies. I guess you can count Frozen, but out of that, I haven't seen a lot of recent ones. I'm going to make Amelia watch a lot of the Disney movies that I grew up with as a child, like Pocahontas and Mulan, which was my favorite, and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, and we've actually been listening to the Disney playlist as well. It puts her to sleep and she loves it and it's soothing for her, so I'm really glad. That's a good sign so far. This was actually the first reaction that I had, and I had no idea how to react to it. So this one is, I don't want to, lol, but you have to include something about being an Asian stereotype. Now, I have no idea how to react to this. I mean, are you saying I'm an Asian stereotype, but then are you stereotyping Asians? I would say I'm more of an Aussie rather than an Asian stereotype. I actually live in an Asian suburb, so, you know, you go out to the store and see lots of like dumplings and bubble tea and stuff like that. But I wouldn't call myself super Asian, particularly because I'm terrible at speaking Chinese and I don't speak it a lot. I don't really believe an Asian stereotype is a thing, if that makes sense, because then you're just stereotyping us based on how we look and based on what our culture is. I just felt a bit weird about that question. Alright, so now moving on to the assumptions on Twitter. Alright, next one is, you buy books for their covers. And yes, I actually do, and I'm a huge cover buyer, and it's also because I'm really into Instagram and I love the way that books look and feel, and if I haven't heard anything about a book before, I'm less likely to buy it, but if I've heard of it and I really love the cover and I have other blogger friends who love the book, of course I'm gonna buy it, right? Despite your blog aesthetics, you prefer sunny days to cloudy ones. And yes, this is completely right, mainly because I live in Brisbane, which is a super sunny area. You wouldn't be able to survive here if you preferred cold and the rain, because it is a tropical state, so it's always really hot. Most of my clothes are like a t-shirt and shorts and or a skirt or whatever. I don't have a lot of winter clothes. I don't do well in the cold. I get sick a lot if I'm in the cold, mainly because I don't cover up and I'm used to the sunny weather. You bullet journal because you love buying stickers too much to give up. Is this too much of an attack? I love you. I love you too, Anne. So I don't actually bullet journal. I use a planner, so I'll just quickly show you guys what that looks like. And yes, I do buy a lot of stickers to plan out my week. And I do this mainly as like a memory thing, so I can look back and see what I did during the year, did during the week, because as I turned a bit older, I realized that you tend to forget what happened during your days and your weeks and your months, and you look back at the year and you have no idea what happened. So I started planning because, one, to keep track of my appointments and things that I needed to keep up with. Without my planner, I feel completely lost. I have no idea what's going on, and it gives me some structure in my life. And and it's so aesthetic, so that's definitely a plus as well, which is why I buy like all these stickers as well. Haha. Anyway, I love planning and I don't know if I'll be able to operate without one. Alright, next one is you never use a proper bookmark. This is actually incorrect. I use a bookmark all the time. I don't know how I would be able to keep track of my reading without it. Sometimes I do put like the book flat like this if my bookmark isn't next to me, but I always have one on hand. I have bookmarks all over the house. Sometimes I see my husband stealing my bookmarks, but that's completely okay. Next one is cracked spines don't bother you. So they used to bother me, and I used to like open a book up like super carefully and read it like this just so it's a bit more aesthetic, but in the end I ended up just cracking the spine anyway. I don't think it bothers me that much because it shows that a book is well loved, and if there's a book that's well loved and well read and it has a cracked spine, it kind of makes me happy. Next one is you have strong feelings for Nikolai Lantsov. Well, maybe I do. How did you know? Alright, next one is you're very organized. So this comes down to me having a planner, me having a Google Calendar, me having multiple spreadsheets for blogging, and a schedule for everything. Yes, I like to be organized because I have a really busy life in both work and family and my social life, so I wouldn't be able to operate without knowing what's going on a daily basis, even a weekly basis, because otherwise I'll just have no idea where I am and be late all the time. Next one is you're a morning person, and I think that's completely obvious from the times that I'm most active on social media. Even after having the baby as well, I still wake up early in the morning at like 6 a.m. most days, even though I'm off work now, and I actually have an internal clock, so I don't wake up with an alarm. I'm able to wake up naturally due to the sunlight and due to my internal clock. So yeah, I am definitely my best in the morning, and I get pretty grumpy when it's late at night and I can't get any sleep. Next one is you don't like loaning books out because they might come back with an extra crease in them. I don't like loaning books out, period, and it's only because the few times I have lent out my books, they don't come back in perfect condition like most of my books are on my shelves, and it does make me a bit upset. Obviously, when you lent out a book, you know, you can't really say don't do anything to my book, make sure it's perfect. So yeah. Next one is you hate love triangles with a passion. I mean, who doesn't hate love triangles? I don't mind if they're written well, but if it's just thrown in there to give you some romantic tension and drama, like what's the point of them? Always completely obvious who they end up with, and if it's just thrown in there for no reason, it just makes me frustrated, especially if the heroine just like flip-flops around. That's really frustrating. I do not love love triangles unless they're written well. You once threw a book on the ground and never told anyone. Yes, so 2 words, hush hush. That was terrible times. This one is funny, is you don't like messes. I don't like messes, but I'm a messy person, so I can't say I particularly like the mess, but I'm just messy as it is, and as hard as I try, it still ends up messy, so I feel like I'm constantly cleaning, mainly because I have a lot of stuff. You like curly fries more than regular fries. I love fries whether they're curly or regular or thick cut or thin cut. Fries are just good for you, especially potatoes. I will take potatoes any day, all day, every day. Next one is you like ice cream. Yes, I do love ice cream. In fact, I have like maybe 3 tubs of it in the freezer right now, and I had to tell my husband not to eat any of my ice cream because it's dairy free, and I have a food intolerance, but he eats it anyway. And yes, I just love ice cream. Okay. Next one is you dislike 80% of super hype books. The hype actually makes me pick up a book, but about disliking them, I guess the hype makes my expectations sky high. And if you think about whether I like or dislike them, I'm a lot more critical if a lot of people love a book, and I tend to see more of the flaws and tend to pick up more of the flaws in a hype book. I don't necessarily dislike hype books, but I think it just makes me more critical and makes me dislike it and be honest about it, especially if there's only 5-star ratings for this book. So the next one is you already have a bookcase for your baby's books, and that's actually not true because the house is filled with bookcases with my books. So I am actually looking for one to put in her nursery where I can display the picture books like front on, which will be really cool. She does actually have over 20 books now, so I'm excited to do that. And I had to get my husband to go pick up the baby because I've tried to refilm this second half about 3 times and she keeps on waking up. Anyway, so next one is your husband isn't a reader. So I think I talked about that before, where he is actually a reader, but he only reads a very specific type of book. Next one is you were a teacher's pet in a good way. I don't know why there are so many studious type questions about me at school, but I guess you can say I was a teacher's pet because I did sit in the front row and I did get a subject award 3 times. I mean, do I look like a teacher's pet type of person? It's been a long time since I went to school or even studied. Next one is you have cute toes. Well, I'm not a big fan of my feet or my toes, so probably not. Next one is you've read most of the books on your bookshelf. Aside from the bookshelves that you usually see on my Instagram, which is my 3 main shelves in the living room, I actually have 3 TBR bookshelves. So this is 2 of them. This is where books go when I have either finished with them or moved them out of my TBR, and I'm trying to unhaul some of them as well. You can't really say that I've read most of them because that is a lot of books to read. Next one is you're a super fast reader, and I think that's pretty obvious because I do read about 8 to 10 books a month. Obviously, with a baby, that's not feasible anymore. And yeah, I'm glad that I am a fast reader, mainly because I have been reading my whole life, so I've gotten a lot of practice. So next one is you prefer tea over coffee, and I think that's obvious. I love my tea so much that at work, I always form a tea club where we have tea breaks for morning tea and afternoon tea, and I just love my tea. I have to wake up to it, and it's just like a relaxing thing for me where you can just take a break and unwind. Lately though, my tea has been cold because every time I go and make a tea, Amelia wakes up and wants some attention. So I've been drinking cold tea. It's not as relaxing and pleasurable, but at least I still drink it, right? Next one is you prefer hardbacks to paperbacks, and that's actually an incorrect assumption because I prefer my paperbacks because I can take them around with me, they're easier to read, they're more portable. I always leave the house with at least 1 book as well. It's kind of hard to do with a hardback. Hardbacks look really aesthetically pleasing and they look better on your shelf, but I don't like carting them around and I don't like reading from them either. You would die for Nikolai Lantsov. That's probably an overstatement. I won't die for him because he's a fictional character, but I do like Nikolai Lantsov. Next one is sometimes you watch Netflix when you should be reading. I have been watching a lot of Netflix over my maternity leave and when I've had the baby because it's easier to have the TV on and look after her rather than having a book open and trying to turn it with one hand. And plus with books, I tend to like to really absorb them and sit down and read them over a few hours, and I don't tend to have that at the moment. I have been watching a lot of Netflix. I actually binge watch this Japanese show called Terrace House. You guys should watch it. Oh my gosh, it's so addictive. It's like a Japanese reality TV show about a bunch of strangers living in a house and there's matchmaking. It's just so wholesome, and if you do end up watching it, let me know. Next one is from my co-blogger Jenna, and it's you're finally going to read The Infernal Devices this year. So ever since I met Jenna, which was maybe like 4 years ago maybe, she has been wanting me to read her favorite series of all time and her favorite book, which is All the Light I Cannot See, and I have not read it yet. Every year I tell her I'm going to read it for her birthday and I still haven't. I'm the type of person who has to read like the previous series before I can read the spin-off, and I don't intend to read the rest of the Mortal Instruments. The whole sister brother thing made me a bit uncomfortable and I wasn't really that into it. Plus it's a huge investment. That's the only thing putting me back from reading The Infernal Devices, even though I hear lots of people love it. So it's really funny, and it's you wish your husband owned less calculators. So this is hilarious because Jenna's visited me 2 times now at my house, and every time she's here she tries and sits into his car and she's like, oh, there's a calculator, let me move that aside, and then she's like, oh, here's another calculator, let me move that aside. I never actually noticed how many calculators he owned until she pointed it out, so that's actually really hilarious. If it's anything to complain about, I'm actually the hoarder in our house. Next one is you're going to get Toby an animal sibling in the next 2 years. Oh my gosh, this is something that we have talked about a lot. We actually really wanted to get him a sibling, so a second dog that is a rescue dog, before we had the baby. Now that we've had the baby, definitely can't think of even having another dog in the house. I'm really glad we got Toby first because he's such a good, trained, obedient dog, and I know the baby will be safe around him. I know if we get a second dog, it will take a lot of training and a lot of time and a lot of effort, which we don't have, especially when the baby's young and as she grows into a toddler. So definitely not in the next 2 years. This one is, you think Amelia is the cutest baby ever, and I definitely think so. I look at her every day and it's just such a joy that I get to spend the time with her and that I get to see her every day. Just like the way that she develops as well, like her cheeks have come out and she's super, super cute, and now she's actually realizing that you're her mom or you're her parent, and she looks at you and she smiles when she's happy. It's just so heartwarming and it completely melts my heart. So we're about finished soon. So next one is you never get mad. So that's actually really funny because I do get mad, but I tend to bottle up my emotions and explode, which is pretty bad. But then instead of just going, oh yeah, look, I'm annoyed, it just comes out like, wah! And then I'm kind of embarrassed about it. So I do get mad, not very often, but yeah, it does happen. Next one is you're super organized, and I think I've talked about that a lot in this video so far with planning and everything. Next one is you met your husband in university, and this is actually correct, but it was actually through a mutual friend, both business students, but he was actually at a different uni, and I met him through a friend of a friend, and we didn't go to uni together, but yes, that was the time when we met, and we've been together ever since. Next one is your favorite color is blue. No, if it's not obvious, my favorite color is actually pink. So I think those are all the assumptions that I've addressed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks guys, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.